For today's video, we're just going to get right into it. No long-winded intro, no crazy graphics. I just wanted to take a look at the Cowboys' last 5 first-round picks. And I was thinking today about how important the 12th overall pick is for them in this draft. Like, they cannot afford to miss. As you'll see as we break down these selections, these picks mean a ton. And for a team that doesn't like to dabble in free agency, it means even more. So let's look at the last 5 first-round picks, who the Cowboys took, how it affected this team, and if it was a hit or miss. Let's get into it. Let's go back to night 1 of the 2020 NFL Draft. I had watched so much Cowboys content throughout the offseason from different creators. I was ready for that draft. There were names like Joe Burrow, Chase Young, Jeff Okudah, Justin Herbert, Tua Tagovailoa. It was a stacked draft. Those guys went off the board early, and then Derek Brown, Isaiah Simmons, CJ Henderson, Mekhi Becton. And then all of a sudden,
the 12th pick of the 2020 NFL Draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select Henry Ruggs, wide receiver, Alabama.
Henry Ruggs goes to the Raiders. Ruggs is the first wide receiver off the board. And at that point, Dallas is sitting there waiting. We're 5 picks away. And then Tristan Wirfs goes, Javon Kinlaw, and then
with the 15th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Jerry Jeudy, wide receiver, Alabama.
Another wide receiver, Jerry Jeudy, goes to Denver. And by that point, I'm sweating. Oklahoma receiver CeeDee Lamb is on the board. The Falcons are up next. But then A.J. Terrell's name gets called at 16, and Dallas is on the clock. At that time, if you remember, they had Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. They really needed help at edge, but the idea of CeeDee in Dallas, I did not care. I don't think anyone in Cowboys Nation cared. He was the best player on the board by a mile.
The 17th pick in the 2020 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver, Oklahoma.
From that point on, it's really history. I don't think I really need to tell you guys that was a hit, right? Like 496 career catches, 6,339 yards, 38 receiving touchdowns. It was a hit. Lamb was a hit. He's a bona fide number 1 wide receiver. Dallas did end up moving on from Amari Cooper a bit early in favor of Lamb. It gave them that flexibility. They kept Michael Gallup as the wide receiver 2 with a big payday, but overall, I probably wouldn't change a single thing from this pick. Rule of thumb in the draft is take the best player, and the draft gods will reward you with an absolute stud at wide receiver 1. So 2020, that was a hit. Just think about how that has really changed the trajectory of this team. So we move on to 2021. And if you guys remember that offseason, the talk was cornerback, cornerback, cornerback. Dallas was gonna take a corner. Patrick Surtain, the second from Alabama, J.C. Horn from South Carolina, those were the top 2 guys. Dallas was sitting at 10th overall. The likelihood that they would be able to land one of those players was pretty high. And then guess what happens on draft night?
The Panthers select J.C. Horn, defensive back,
Pat Surtain Jr., defensive back.
Dallas lost both of their top 2 guys. So the Cowboys went and traded the 10th overall pick to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for the 12th pick and a 3rd round pick, number 84 in that draft. The Eagles ended up taking Devontae Smith. Obviously, the Cowboys couldn't take him, having Cooper, Lamb, that wasn't going to happen. But Dallas did move back to number 12. So when that pick rolled around, they went with
This is Jerry Jones, and I'm calling you to tell you we're turning your card in.
Now, I do want to have this discussion really quick. They took Micah as an off-ball linebacker, and at the time, me included, no one really knew he was the kind of pass rusher that he is today. Like, not many Cowboys fans really loved this selection because I think the mindset was corner. So to not get either of those guys with J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain, it hurt to miss out on a premium position, and those guys ended up being really good players, but it hurt to miss out on it and then take an off-ball linebacker at the time. But Dallas quickly found out that they had more than just a linebacker. After injuries stacked up in week 1 at edge, Micah Parsons played defensive end in a week 2 game against LA, and from there, it's history. Sometimes you get rewarded. So the pass rusher that they wanted in 2020, they took CeeDee Lamb, they didn't reach, fell in their lap in 2021, and the Micah Parsons pick was easily a hit. When you look at the 2022 draft, it was certainly an interesting one. Dallas needed an offensive lineman. Tyron Smith was having injury after injury, was obviously getting older. Left guard was a giant hole. Terrence Steele was playing good at right tackle, and Zach Martin was at right guard. Two names that continuously popped up over the draft cycle as the top prospects for the Cowboys was Kenyon Green and Zion Johnson. But like clockwork, Green goes off the board at 15, Zion Johnson off the board at 17. And for a lot of people, that was kind of the cutoff for talent. Like, it was those two guys, and then you had some early second rounders kind of mixed in there. But what was interesting about this one, leading up to that draft, about a week or two before, Mel Kiper had the Cowboys selecting Tulsa tackle Tyler Smith in his final mock draft, which at the time seemed pretty odd. It was like pretty random. I remember everyone being like, what does he know? Is this gonna be the Cowboys pick? And considering Smith didn't get much first round buzz, it felt like Kiper knew something. So when the pick rolled around, Dallas took Tyler Smith, who by all accounts was a penalty machine in college at Tulsa. He had quite a few holding penalties, but he was an absolute unit that could move people off the ball. He dirt people every single chance he got. He was big, strong, physical. He just needed work with his hand placement and just little technique stuff here and there. But overall, grown man coming into the league. Once again, though, people weren't too happy with that pick considering he wasn't a polished tackle. I think that's what people kind of thought at the time. Like, Tyler Smith was going to be your left tackle of the future. Sure, he doesn't play left tackle, but they got a phenomenal player. Tyler Smith did step in for Tyron Smith as a rookie. He played good, but not great as a rookie left tackle. But after his move to left guard in 2023, he's been Pro Bowl caliber. He's an anchor of that offensive line, and Dallas needs to pay him ASAP. I would say after 3 years in the league, Tyler Smith was a hit. So really quick, before we go on to 2023 and 2024, I just wanted to kind of tie this all into how much this draft pick means for the Cowboys this year. They hit on 3 players in a row, and that's not counting Trayvon Diggs in the second round in 2020. Like, the ability to get Micah Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, Tyler Smith, that changes an organization. Not having those guys and maybe missing out on CeeDee, like, who's your wide receiver right now? Did you try to draft another one in another draft and it busts? Like, really, really matter. And when you're hitting on Pro Bowlers and all pros, it changes the trajectory of this team. It means a ton. So we go on to 2023. These are the picks that are going to start affecting this team a year from now and 2 years from now. Let's just talk about the Cowboys and selecting Mazi Smith in 2023. When they did that, they needed a defensive tackle badly. And with Mazi at Michigan, he was a big run-stuffing nose tackle, hard to move off the ball, very athletic, wasn't a sloppy player by any means, and was much more of a pocket pusher at Michigan. I think he had 1 career sack or half a career sack. Obviously not a pass rusher by any means, but at the time, and looking back on it now, it did feel like a reach because ever since he's been in the NFL, it's been pretty rough. The problem was Dan Quinn's system wanted or needed skinnier, athletic, pass-rushing types, guys that could get upfield, get after the quarterback. Mazi obviously wasn't that, so he lost quite a bit of weight. His play, his strength really suffered. Obviously, his technical issues as well, but when you just completely change a player's body, expect them to learn a new scheme, one that was vastly different from Michigan, it's obviously not going to go great. And then you bring in Mike Zimmer, who had Mazi put the weight back on, and it still wasn't great, but at least there were signs of improvement. He did have pretty good games. He was I know it doesn't mean a ton, but PFF had him as the highest graded player of the game against New York back in week 10, 12, whatever. He did improve. It wasn't nearly as bad as it was in 2023. So you guys let me know, are you ready to call Mazi a miss? Comment your answers down below in the comments, and let's move on to 2024. Less than a year ago, right? The 2024 draft had a ton of tackles, which did line up with the Cowboys' needs. The bad part was there were only 5 or 6 in the first round, and Dallas was drafting at the back end of round 1. So it was kind of hard to see them landing one of the top 5 or 6 guys. So when all of those prospects went off the board, they took the 7th rated one, which was Tyler Guyton. One of those back in first round guys that had questions around his technique, his hand usage, his experience. And I do want to say this, his rookie year did not go great. And of course it didn't work. Like a rookie left tackle with a handful of college starts, none of those being at left tackle, it's probably not going to work out great. And I'm not ready to call this pick a miss yet. Hopefully he can come back stronger in 2025. He can lock down that spot, and we can look back one day, maybe at the end of 2025, and say that was a hit. So that brings us to the 2025 draft. And how does this connect to the pick made in 2 weeks? Very simple. Don't miss. Much easier said than done. I mean, every team is obviously trying to hit, but the most important thing is when you look at Mazi, you look at Tyler Guyton, who I'm not calling a miss yet, I'm just throwing it out there, but when you go into the draft wanting a certain position, we gotta upgrade this position, it doesn't always end with you taking the best available player, like one that's staring you in the face. That is probably better, but because you have holes on your roster, you have to fill them, and that's just how it is. And it leads to reaching, it leads to not drafting the best player for your team, other than we have a hole at defensive tackle, we're taking the defensive tackle. It's just not good. 2020, 2021, 2022 really laid the foundation for what this team was in the following years, and it's not starting out great, but 2023, 2024, and 2025 are going to lay the foundation for what this team's going to be moving forward. So hitting this year, not trying to be dramatic, right? But it can really make it or break it. That 12th pick means a ton. It's an identity starter, the first pick for Brian Schottenheimer. It is super, super important. But that's all I got for you guys today. I wanted to take a look back in time, look at the Cowboys drafts. Kind of interesting. I forgot how a lot of these were leading up to it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I love you all, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye.